Hi, I'm Nadia Dunn, your host of CCL TV's More Than Packages podcast. But who are CCL? Well, CCL are an independent and neutral third-party logistics service provider and custom clearance specialist. From e-concept to e-logistics for e-commerce, CCL has your e-solution. Now, joining me today for episode 3 are Mark Lassis, who's CEO of Your Cargo Contact, and Managing Director Stefan Zanger from Belglobe, and Neo, who's our Business Development Director from CCL. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time today. How are you all?
Thanks.
Very good, very good.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you all.
Now, we're all going to be sharing some thoughts and around your journey in freight forwarding, Brexit, and of course, future insights. Now, Mark, could you start by telling us and giving us an introduction to your company, please?
Yeah, sure. I'm a CEO with Your Cargo Contact. We started in 2003. We started off the business as a B2B freight forwarding company. We mainly were focused on the business into Africa. And at some point, I got in touch with CCL. We never got to do a lot of business together because they were more B2C minded and we were more B2B minded. At some point, the topic Brexit came along and we started focusing on a cooperation together. After that, we contacted Dutch Customs and invited us for a pilot to start up the B2C gateway through Amsterdam. At that point, we had CCL flying in to Amsterdam and discussing with customs if we were a right partner for the pilot. All was approved, and we ended up obtaining the venue license as the first in the Netherlands. So we were quite successful there.
Excellent. And Neo, can you tell us about the collaboration with YCC?
Yeah, it was actually a very interesting journey. At the very beginning, for YCC to get into the industry of e-commerce logistics, it was we had some sort of challenge. And first of all, is to demonstrate the concept that it would have a very good contribution to the commercial interest for YCC. But also there were a lot of challenges from the legal side to the regulatory side, which YCC hadn't really got too much knowledge into that area yet. Also, it was a learning process for CCL. I mean, UK was the main territory for CCL, which we have been specializing in for the last decades. But for Netherlands, it still was something new for us to learn together. So it was a very mutual understanding and supportive journey together. And at the end, yes, YCC got their first license for the Netherlands. So yeah, it was something we should all feel proud of.
Yeah, absolutely. Stefan, thanks for being here as well again. Can you tell us a bit about Belglobe, please? We're lucky enough to have the two companies with us today.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. The company was founded in 1994 here in Fribourg, Switzerland. We started a couple of years later. We started to develop on certain vertical services, focusing on high value shipments for the watch industry and the jewelry. And a little bit later, we started to develop special product solution, special service solution for the pharmaceutical industry, which is quite important here in Switzerland. So we specialized in temperature controlled transportation for pharmaceuticals and diagnostics. In 2009, we opened up a branch office in Mexico City. We have been active in Mexico for many years already before, and in 2009, we decided to open up our own office over there together with our agent partner, who is a licensed customs broker over there. So we came together and opened up Belglobe in Mexico. Then in 2009. Since then, we started developing more or less the same services as we did here in Switzerland. To the e-commerce logistics, we started getting in contact with Rudy mainly, that that I already knew many years before, but I think it was more or less in 2017 that we were first talking together with Rudy about e-commerce logistics solutions for Switzerland, and that was when we started getting into the topic and also implementing MyCCL, the CCL software solutions for the customs clearance, also for Switzerland. That was also at the same time when we acquired the possible or all the necessary customs licenses for Switzerland clearances, and also we are an operator of an open customs warehouse. So it's some kind like a bonded customs warehouse. So that was all more or less in the same year that we started with those services. Yeah, this is more or less our journey so far, and we have a lot of capacity to develop in the e-commerce business. Maybe I've not been so successful, as it's a completely different market, Switzerland, than it might be in the Netherlands or in the UK. Just a small country with only 8.5 million of people, so it's different than to open up services for the whole European Union.
Well, we'll get into the EU a little bit later on in the podcast. Yeah. But first of all, Neo, can you tell us about CCL's relationship with Belglobe? Stefan has touched on it, but if you could expand on that for us.
Yes, I would say that's another completely different experience compared with working with YCC. I mean, I still remember the first journey we made to visit Belglobe. We landed there at airport. I think we got some driver arranged by Belglobe to pick us up. It took about 1.5 hours to drive in the middle of the dark. And the next day when we woke up, we were in the middle of nowhere. It's in the countryside. But of course, at the same time, it reminds us how beautiful Switzerland was. I mean, we went to see Belglobe. It was a massive facility in there. They bonded warehouse, got all the licensing in place, massive sorting centers, and they have the heavy lifting crane in there as well. So it's kind of like eye-opening experience. But at the same time, to help Belglobe to also get into the e-commerce industry, which we're talking about small parcels and packages, but they were used to deal with massive freight and containers. It was also a big change and challenge for all of us as well. But yeah, I think for the next few months, and CCL started to work very closely, try to implement the MyCCL version, or My Belglobe, that's what we call it in the Netherlands. In the Switzerland. And yeah, we started the journey. We will get into the more details later on, but yes, that's how it started. Well done. I mean, Stephen. It's a long journey.
Now back to you, Mark. How have you seen your business evolve in the last 5 years?
Well, from B2B to B2B and B2C, we were to approach the market in a wider way. So we got more opportunities. And yeah, in terms of growth, it has been expanding quite quickly. And on top of that, after the Brexit, we grew in January another 325%.
I mean, yeah, the figures speak for themselves.
Yeah, it's indeed unbelievable.
Amazing. Again, we'll come to Brexit shortly, but could you just tell us, so that's in the last 5 years, how has the last year affected you with the whole COVID situation?
Well, that's more on the managing your company side. So you need enough space for everyone to be able to function in the company. So we have leased more office space and spread the people. Although Dutch government promotes very much to work from home, we have requested people to work in the office space and show them enough space to feel comfortable. So yeah, business-wise, you increase your costs somewhat, but yeah, you need the people on the spot to process the growth I just indicated with my figures.
Stefan, over to you. How has Belglobe been affected over the last year?
Yeah, it it was very special too. Well, first in the first lockdown in April of last year, like I think everybody stayed home, doing some home office, but very quickly people really wanted to get back to the office, and it's just not the same in our business to be working from the office or from home. So since then, after like 3-4 weeks later of home office, everybody came back to the office, and everybody is in the office except maybe the administration, accounting. They're still nowadays doing home office, but all the rest, all the other operations people, sales people, operations, we're all in the office since ever then. And I think it's really what people also really wanted to do instead of staying home.
Yeah.
I think it's also mentally more healthier for the people to come to the office than to stay at home and to be thinking about the pandemic. I think it's better to be at the office with the colleagues. And our office space is really big enough to keep the distances. We have really a huge office space for not so many people that we are. And, of course, inside of the office, everybody has to wear the masks. I'm just not wearing now one because I'm at my closed office here, but otherwise everybody has his masks on. And we have a special plan to so-called plan for disinfection. We are disinfecting all the public surfaces 3 times a day, etc., etc. So we're coming along quite well, and nobody at the office ever felt sick. So in all this year, so I think we did it the right way.
That's great news.
And business-wise, it was very special. We had on one hand the watch and jewelry industry that really got completely down. There was really, they dropped off 50% or even more than that. And on the other hand, fortunately for us at least, we were compensated a lot by the pharmaceutical and diagnostics industry that had a huge growth during the last year. So rock bottom 2020 for us, we were able to increase our turnover, not as drastically as Mark did, unfortunately, but also so we could grow about 15% last year still compared to 2019. So we're quite happy with that.
Yeah, that sounds great. And Neo, can you just tell us from a CCL perspective how CCL has managed to stay ahead with the COVID situation?
So in CCL, we have followed strict government guidelines, the same as how YCC and Belglobe does. We for staff that they have to work in the office or in a warehouse due to the nature of their work, the managers all implemented strict social distance rule in the office. We distribute free facial masks to keep staff all the time to be on a mask when they work. And also we installed quite many the hand sanitizers for them to wash their hands anytime they need it. I think in the office environments, CCL has done as much as we could. For staff like my department and accounts department who had the luxury to work remotely, we all been given enough equipment to work remotely. At the beginning, I have to say everyone was very excited to use the opportunity to really enjoy the balance of work and life, and the working efficiency at the first 3 months to 6 months was pretty high. We can see the output and also the figures and the growth, which was very encouraging. But after 6 months, 1 year, and UK had a second round lockdown, third round lockdown, we have noticed for staff who are working remotely also start to experience challenges, particularly for new members to join us when they needed a lot of training and support on lively. Sometimes when you ask some question and they couldn't get immediate answers, and they would feel so frustrated. Even they were not intentionally being left behind, but that would cause some sort of mental distress. For also other staff who couldn't communicate with operation team or warehouse team lively, they would have to put some of the tasks on hold until they can get an answer. So we have noticed the mental health area became something we need to pay more attention. So, for example, in the last monthly meeting for my team, we have put the topic of employee mental health support in our agenda. I have prepared a few podcast links and also some reading materials to share with my staff, even just for some bedtime reading before they go into bed. That could give them some tips. Of course, we have noticed all the managers need to make sure their phone lines to be accessible all the time to give the staff enough support they needed to. And so that's how we move along.
Well, that sounds like it's really useful for your staff. And there is light at the end of the tunnel. So hopefully 2021 will be a bit more positive from a COVID perspective. Now, Mark, let's talk about Brexit. So after we had such a long uncertainty surrounding Brexit, it's happened. Tell us how it's affected, or the immediate impacts it's had on your business.
Well, as you said, we had it a couple of times already that it was announced Brexit was going to come through. Luckily, we experienced it like the way we did. Of course, I think process-wise, there was a lot to still iron out. And the opportunity to have those two stages before the last final and actual Brexit made us more aware of the processes, the systems, and it helped us a lot in eventually going through current Brexit. What can I say? It came like a wave.
And how have you seized opportunities from Brexit?
Well, that was in cooperation with CCL. We saw those opportunities 4 years ago. I remember the first conversations we had where Brexit was only a theory yet. And eventually it became practice. We always anticipated to it. So we somehow were certain this was gonna happen. And we made our investment, we put in energy and all that. And yeah, here it is.
So being a few steps ahead, a few years before it happened, has kind of made it all right for you guys to...
Yeah, it definitely confirmed the visions we had then. So that's good.
Excellent. And Neo, what about you from your point of view with Mark?
I think, yes, all the efforts for the last 3-4 years are really paid off. I mean, nowadays it's kind of like even challenging for me to get a hold of Mark because it's just, he's literally running on seconds, which is a good thing. At the beginning, when there was uncertainty, everyone was doubting really Brexit was going to happen at the end, or, we've been guessing even to the last month in December last year, we still didn't know if it would happen or not. But the message and the understanding between YCC and CCO was very clear. It doesn't matter if it would happen or not, we would get prepared. So I think the preparation all got paid off. But even I think that it is still challenging. It has been a challenging journey since January, the 1st of January, 2021. Mark's team has been expanding dramatically, I have to say. For now, Mark's managing the biggest team ever, perhaps, which we're trying to accommodate all the business. And CCL, of course, because the relationship we had, so UK used to have acting as a gateway for the Europe, but because of Brexit, somehow UK has lost some of the advantages of acting as a logistic gateway in some aspects. But we would want to make sure our customers could be handled with the same level of care, to be treated with the same amount of satisfaction. So my team have to work with YCC step by step. Because basically we're acting as a one united team. No matter it comes to consultation, or no matter it comes to pricing or operational challenges, or to redesign the service package, my team would be there. So we would work with YCC along the whole journey until the whole situation settles down.
Great. And Stefan, how has Brexit had a direct impact on Belglobe?
To be honest, practically not at all, because, well, between the UK and Switzerland, nothing has really changed. In view of Brexit, a free trade agreement has already been signed between the UK and Switzerland already in 2019, right after it was more or less confirmed that the Brexit will take place soon later. And, well, for us, to be honest, absolutely nothing changed. Just in the beginning, in January, starting the year, like as everybody, our trucks were in a traffic jam or staying in Dover, a little bit in the beginning, until all that was well organized again. But otherwise, we didn't have any impact, because as Switzerland is not part of the European Union, so the UK and Switzerland has signed a bilateral agreement, free trade agreement, already since 2019. So this was actually no change at all for us in question of customs clearance formalities, etc.
Okay, great. So completely different scenarios there. How do you think it's going to affect the logistics industry, and how do you think it's going to look like in 2021 and beyond?
Stefan, do you want to start off with that? Yeah, so Stefan, what do you think the logistics industry will look like in 2021 and beyond?
Yeah, it's not so easy to say. Well, for us, to be honest, for Belglobe, we take things now step by step. We really want to see finishing now this pandemic as soon as possible, and we're trying to plan not so far ahead of the pandemic. Nevertheless, we will continue to do our planifications for the coming years on our strategic points where we knew that we're strong. So we will try to continue to expand in e-commerce logistics. Definitely, we are already having some very good results in e-commerce logistics, but for outbound Switzerland business, this is growing quite a lot, and we think we really want to increase that. On the other hand, we still, as I said before, we still have a lot of capacities what is concerning the inbound e-commerce logistics, where we have a huge competitor, like an overwhelming competitor, which is a state-owned Swiss Post. So it is very hard to compete really against them. They have actually a market share of 90 to 95% in Switzerland on e-commerce inbound business. So this is going to be quite hard for us to compete. However, I think we have definitely the possibility to find our place and our niches also besides this huge competitor. And further on that, we will stick on our traditional service lines. We will further develop especially the life science part that has been extremely successful over the last few years, and we really believe on this is going to be more and more our strongest division, if you can say that like that. I think life sciences, which is growing a lot in Switzerland, I think this is definitely one of the divisions that we're going to invest and to further develop in the years to come.
Right, okay. And Mark, can you kind of expand on that for us? What do you think the logistics industry will look like going forward?
Well, I think we're looking at a more divided EU. So we're looking at some change of systems later this year. Custom systems, so we will change venue to DECO. And a change in thresholds, etc. So yeah, there will be challenges later this year as well. I think after that we can more focus in on again a new marketing strategy and gain more market share.
Great, and we've touched a bit on CCL Tech. Stefan, can you tell us a bit more about how CCL Tech has enhanced your operation?
Well, CCL Tech was something totally new to us and to me. And when I was introduced to the technical solutions of YCCL, and we started implementing those solutions in Switzerland, this definitely brought us a step forward, not only technically, but also in the way of thinking about things. You know, in Switzerland, we often think small. We're a small country, not a lot of people, and this really opened up a new dimension for us, really, to see all the opportunities and possibilities that with CCL Tech could open also for the Swiss market. So when we implemented MyCCL or My Belglobe in Switzerland, this definitely opened up for us a totally new dimension of how we can handle e-commerce logistics for the Swiss market, you know.
Yeah, so I just want to add one interesting point. I also remember the first time when we visited Belglobe office, we were shocked about the amount of paperwork piled up on employee desks. We were asking Stefan, was there the legal requirements? Everything has to be actual printout. It was a bit interesting answer from Stefan. So we said, don't answer us now. Have a look at MyCCL or My Belglobe, which is now the name, to see if we can reduce the amount of paper you've been printing for the staff to put on the desks. I think that was one immediate benefits for Belglobe.
Yeah.
Stefan, has that paperwork gone down?
Yeah, we're trying to save some trees now. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's coming down. It's slowly because it's not only paper, but it's also in the head of the people. But yes, we definitely have reduced since Neo's last visit. We have been able to reduce paperwork. Definitely.
And Mark, can you tell us how CCL Tech and the CCL team have enhanced your operation?
Yeah, and they still are. They have been setting up so much for us that without CCL Tech there was no gateway over Amsterdam. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I think there was some sort of challenges in between to adapt MyCCL in the Netherlands, because the custom system environment is different. I also remember that at the very beginning, CCL had to kind of acting as part of YCC to communicate with the Dutch customs directly. We became the first company to do the IT integrations with IT customs on the vending license, which was very, I would say, an interesting learning process, even for a CCL's IT team. It was not something that CCL had got involved. In the CCL, in the UK, CCL integrates our MyCCL with third-party custom software. But in the Netherlands, we would have tried a way to direct integration or direct transmission with Dutch customs. So that was a different challenge that my team had to deal with. But I think it went well at the end. And even now, Mark has given us heads up. The new policy was going to be coming into place from the 1st of July in 2021. MyCCL has been sort of evolving at the back end. My YCC has been updating constantly, trying to understand the new requirements of the new system. And I think that will be, yes, a step of the implementation and the transition.
Yeah, and the good thing was, Neo, let me add something to that, is that indeed we were successful in creating a direct connection with Dutch customs. Compared to others in the market, there is an IT solution in between usually. So we were successful in cutting that out. Also cost-wise, that benefited us. And the other side was that there were so many customers having an experience on the MyCCL, and we wanted the customer to have the same experience with MyYCC, but still the backend and the mechanisms with customs work differently. So there were bridges to create. And I think we've been successful so far.
Yes. Thanks for the recognition.
Yeah, successful all round. Any final thoughts before we move on?
I think for CCL, I mean, when we look at it 2021 and beyond, again, similar to Mark, because we work very closely in the brexit or transition process. From the 1st July, the UK government also will implement stage 3 the Brexit stage, post-Brexit stage. For now, we haven't seen quite many sort of issues popped up at the border, and some even pharmaceutical industry or perishable industry even went on some strikes to the UK government. So we can see the challenges are already there. But I'm thinking perhaps from the 1st of July, the real picture will be reviewed to everyone, because the stage 1, stage 2, which was from 1st of January to the end of March, that's stage 1, and from 1st April to the end of June 2021, there's stage 2. This stage 1 and stage 2 were actually providing some space for logistics companies to prepare and to sort of understand what the full challenge would be. And from the 1st of July, the border control of UK will be put in place. And I would expect to see more checks and more documentations and more requirements. So I just say it's a challenging journey ahead, but of course, opportunities are there. And for companies like YCC and Belglobe and CCL, who are the specialized agents in the customs industry and the customs logistics industry, we would play a critical role to make sure the logistics industry can connect smoothly.
So a challenging but positive time ahead to look forward to.
So guys, finally, I'll start with Stefan. Stefan, if you were stranded on a desert island, what music track would you take with you?
Oh, do you really want me to say that now here in public? No.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a Swiss guy, and I would definitely, if I would be on my own on a desert island, I will definitely not miss to take my Victorinox knife with me. So you're quite prepared for many situations that could come up.
Yes, that's a great idea. What about a piece of music to keep you entertained?
Yeah, I will buy a Victorinox knife that has also music, that is also able to play some music.
Yeah,
I'm sure this exists nowadays.
A digital knife.
Exactly.
And Mark, what about you?
I'll be playing some songs from Jack Johnson.
Okay, nice.
Okay.
There's a Dutch song, Even arme moeder plakken. Do you know that one?
Yeah, I know it. Even aan mijn moeder vragen.
That's it. There we go. That was what I thought you might have in mind. But Neo, what about you?
You know what? I've been thinking when the two gents were answering the question. I'm kind of have a big mix of different music tastes. I came from the Chinese background, and before I came to the UK, all my music was pretty much for Chinese music. But when I came here, everything was European and American styles. But recently, I somehow got addicted to this background music, for the lounge.
Oh, yeah.
For you going to a hotel or the cafe, you just playing this kind of music at the back, ease off your stress when you work along and you can't get some answer from some stuff. You're just like, I need to get an answer. But okay, well, this kind of music would help me. I think I'm just going to play some plain, no lyrics, background music, going to keep me entertained, I think.
Lift music.
I think I'll save my singing skills for that desert island and not sing that again. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me this afternoon. It's been really lovely to speak to you, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. Thank you for joining CCL TV's More Than Packages podcast. And remember that CCL are more than packages.
Thanks a lot, Nadia.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.